What's going on, guys? JPS back for another video, and today we're going to be reacting to 7 harmless British words Americans might find rude. Us Americans sometimes have trouble saying exactly what we want to say, and we aren't nearly as blunt as you Brits can be, especially when it comes to using words and words that would be considered maybe a bit vulgar, or maybe not the nicest words, but words are only as powerful as the power you give to them, so it's just funny how in Britain, there can just be someone's grandma just going crazy, saying the most wild words. I can't say them because this video might get age restricted, and I probably wouldn't say them either because I'm American. That's the thing. There's a big difference in terms of how we speak, obviously, despite having the same language. So here are 7 harmless British words Americans might find rude. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit subscribe, consider joining the Patreon. First link in description for full reactions to British shows and movies. And with that being said, we're going to get right into this.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to words. Specifically, words that are used commonly in one country that might be considered filthy in the other. And before we dive into those, apologies in advance to my mum, my former teachers, and the British Embassy. This is just one of those videos that my subscribers have been asking me to do for ages, so if you're going to blame anybody, blame them. Oh, and if you yourself are not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. In the meantime, here is part 1 of a 2-part series in which I look at words that might make residents of the other country go a little red in the face. And the first word that we're pulling out today is titbit. Basically, titbit, which for those of you wondering rhymes with Fitbit, is an alternate spelling of what Americans would know as tidbit. And it's funny this because the word tit used to mean small and not what you're thinking of. And on this subject, I often hear British people saying things like, why did America change it? Well, it turns out they
I'm sorry. We changed it? Hold on.
Didn't. Tidbit is how we used to say it in Britain, and at some point in the past, we substituted a D for a T, which is something that happens commonly. This English language phenomenon in which the letter T is pronounced as a D in the middle of words is known as T-flapping. T-flapping is especially common in American English, where speakers overwhelmingly pronounce butter as butter. However, as part of the gradual Americanization of British English, T-flapping has popped up a lot in recent years in Britain. In fact, the amount of British YouTubers I've heard recently pronouncing the word little as liddle is ironically large. Also, now that I've said it out loud a few times, T-flapping definitely belongs on a list of linguistic words that normies would find filthy. I'll be dropping that on my OnlyFans. Anyway, back to the whole titbit versus...
Dude, this guy, someone needs to take away his YouTube channel. He has too much freedom, bro. It's bad. It's actually really good, but... I hadn't even thought about the D, but that is true. Water. It is kind of like... It definitely is.
Tidbit thing. Britain did whatever the exact opposite of T-flapping is and settled on titbit. America either didn't get that memo or didn't care. Although an American stage director of mine did care when I said it the British way. You can't say that, dude. There are kids in the audience. Next in line, you may occasionally hear British people from the past say the phrase, keep your pecker up, it's gonna be alright, right? And that's not some weird foreplay. In fact, really, it's just another way of saying, keep calm and carry on. Except here in America, and broadly in English in general, the word pecker doesn't just mean a bird that does this. It also means a man's third leg? I don't know how to not get demonetized. And so clearly, if I use the phrase keep your pecker up to an American, I might face a lawsuit. Actually, the same is definitely true of this. In Britain, it is not uncommon for us to say, I stroked the dog. In fact, I never knew another phrase for this, and you're probably thinking, Lawrence, what does it mean to stroke the dog? Well, thankfully, it doesn't mean what you think it means, you weird little... It just means to do this to your animal. Across its fur, and make it feel nice. And this is a word difference that I wish I'd known before moving in with my in-laws who had 3 dogs at the time. And I remember the first time that I said to them, do you mind if I stroke the dog? You could see the cogs turning in their heads, and I don't know what they were thinking, but it was probably along the lines of, what is the phone number to the Department of Homeland Security? Anyway, to stroke the dog is another way of saying the American English phrase, to pet the dog.
Nah, yeah, I could definitely see that. Like, if you're just walking down the street, someone's walking their dog, and I'm like, can I stroke your dog? I promise you that that dog owner is hesitating. Or there's gonna be something weird there. What are these words, bro? Poppycock? Where is this man getting this from? Okay.
At some point in the past, it was decided that the word poppycock is a word entirely exclusive to Britain, but that itself is poppycock, because the word is widely believed to have originated in the United States. In fact, the word meaning utter rubbish or baloney was brought to these shores by Dutch settlers. It is derived from their word poppycock, meaning literally soft dung. So when someone says, "What a load of poppycock," the American use of horse is a viable synonym in more ways than one. With that quick disclaimer out of the way, you barely hear the word in America today. However, in Britain, it persists. And so if I were to use this word around Americans, they'd either giggle at me because, well, it contains the word cock, or because it sounds like a quaint British word. Lawrence, go stand in the corner and talk poppycock to me all day. Which, as it happens, is something that I'm highly skilled at.
Dude, his, first of all, but his American accent is actually, it's really impressive. It's really impressive.
It's not enough that we have the word titbit. We have to find other harmless ways of incorporating the word...
Oh, another comment I was going to make. Like, I was thinking about this. In the United States, we're really against profanity, especially, and we justify that by saying, oh, there's kids around. He mentioned that earlier. But I think about at, like, a sporting event or something. Like, even if people are trying to say... I mean, actually, that's a lie. Once you get drunk, like, those people don't care what they say. But I'm saying in public and stuff, even the profanity that is used, it's usually something along the lines of bull or horse. And see, I'm not even saying it, which just shows how American I am. But I have the YouTube excuse. But the truth is, like, I'm just like that, like, with the profanity and stuff, especially in public, in family situations, things like that. Obviously, this is a cultural thing, and there's tons of different cultures that coexist in the United States and intermingle, but I guess with my family in particular, like, the whole profanity thing was never big, like, and I don't think that's an uncommon thing either. It's just so different compared to Britain, where it's like, I'm not saying every word that comes out of your guy's mouth is a cuss word, but it can be sometimes. It can be, and that's not always the case over here.
It's not enough that we have the word titbit. We have to find other harmless ways of incorporating the word tit into our words and phrases. In this case, the word tit is used in a context that Americans might actually know well. That is tit, as in the type of bird. Indeed, the United States is home to 5 species of titmouse: the tufted, the black-crested, the oak, the juniper, and the bridal titmouse. Whoever named that last one knew what they were doing. What America doesn't have is the great tit, unless we're talking about my wife's cousin Chad. The great tit, which is also not a large hill with an igloo on top, is a type of bird found not just throughout Britain, but much of Europe. So laugh at this bird all you want, but just remember this: it can fly. What can you do? Oh, the word banger. It can mean so many things, and on either side of the pond. In both Britain and America, I've heard the word banger used to describe an old clunky car. But in Britain, it has multiple uses. For instance, a banger can also be a very loud firework. It can also be a sausage, and believe it or not, that is not a euphemism. Which probably explains why the odd, sometimes very odd American will ask me, what are the smutty origins of the UK dish bangers and mash? Well, hold your horses, because this has nothing to do with Rumpy Pumpy. In fact, the word banger in this context is thought to date back to World War I. The story goes that due to supply shortages, sausages had to be prepared with different filler to what is normal. And this, which mostly consisted of water, is said to have caused the sausages to explode. This still feels like a euphemism.
It really does. Like, there's no getting around that. Bangers and mash, though. There's still a lot of British food for me to try aside from that. Make a video of that this summer. You guys gonna see.
And finally, rubber. Now firstly, I should clarify that nobody has a problem talking about rubber, the material. Both countries do that in equal measure. It's when we're talking about what Americans refer to as an eraser that things get dicey. Because while a rubber is what we call this in Britain, that very same phrasing can be used in the United States to mean protective clothing for your third leg. Can we say condom? Now, thankfully, this is not a faux pas that I run into very often, because I haven't used a rubber since 1998. Yes, the stationery. So suffice to say that my heart goes out to all of the British teachers working in America. Being
so
British
funny.
in America is a weird experience. You encounter a lot of cultural differences, and as I've pointed out on this channel many times, this often includes word differences. And sometimes these word differences can leave you embarrassed, such as the words on this list, but also filthy place names like Intercourse, Pennsylvania, or Spittle in the Street, Lincolnshire. Therefore, when visiting the other country, it's important to be mindful about the words you use. Or don't, and see what happens. Coming soon is part 2 in this series, in which I look at American words that the British might find a little bit rude. To whet your appetite for that, why not check out this video looking at American English words that are catching on in Britain.
That was a really good video, honestly. Make sure you guys subscribe to Lost in the Pond. This guy, his videos are always really high quality. I want to watch this one next. Why are you guys using y'all now? Come on. Don't do that. Anyways, enjoyed this one a lot. I honestly would advise against his final comments about not caring and just going with it. Probably best to see what you can do, but at the end of the day, they'll hear your accent and know this guy just doesn't know what he's talking about. That's what happened to me, so it's okay. He's just not from here. It's fine. So, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Comment any words below you think he missed. Or maybe you had a specific situation where you used one of these words and had an interesting reaction. Something like that. Comment it down below. I'd appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. And with that being said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one.